Hello, everyone. This is the Novel Network podcast. We are doing our reader season, and tonight we have Cisca Small with us. I almost combined today and tonight into one word. You can tell what kind of day it's been for me. But as much as Libby and you keep hearing us talk, we want to hear about Cisca. So, Cisca, tell us a bit about you.
Well, I have been an avid reader since sixth grade. That's when I found the book that changed me. Every reader or author has that magic book.
Which
And
book
it
was
is
it?
kind of magic. What?
Which book was that?
It was The Rowan by Anne McCaffrey.
Okay. Yeah.
So I read a lot of classic sci-fi and fantasy growing up. I was really blessed and lucky that my mom was a big reader also. So she read as I was going and I just kind of looted her shelves. But I did a podcast for several years on books, and then called Blasters and Blades. It still goes, but I just needed to. My life got busy, and I didn't want it to suffer by waiting around for me. So, and then I'm also the fantasy lit track director at Dragon Con, as well as I've volunteered and done some different leadership positions at other cons.
Wow.
That's awesome. I would love to do a Dragon Con at some point.
Dragon Con is a unique and special con. It's crazy, but it's a lot of fun. And it's what got me doing stuff on TikTok, if that makes any weird sense.
Nice.
I can only type so many times the same thing before I go, can I just say it into a video and have people watch the video?
Yep.
That's true.
So, because Dragon Con is organized different than other conventions, though if you're from the greater Atlanta area like I am, it is a very familiar format because a lot of the cons around here, the smaller cons around here, use it because, well, we cheat and we cross-pollinate with those other conventions. So
even though it's called Dragon Con, I could still bring like my dinosaur books, even though dinosaurs.
Dude, your dinosaur books would be a huge hit. No, Dragon Con. So if you're listening to this or watching and you have never heard of Dragon Con is the world's largest fan run because we have 6 paid members, that 6 people on salary. That's it, that run the con year round, and the rest of us are all volunteers. And we have over 2,500 volunteers. So
Wow.
we have enough to fit out I'm a vet. So we have enough to fit out an Army infantry brigade and volunteers, quite literally. But it's multimedia and pop culture. Literature has always been really the basis and foundation of Dragon Con. So Dragon Con back many, many years ago, there was a World Con here in Atlanta. And from that, some of the founding members went, wouldn't it be fun to have a con here all the time? So Dragon Con's always been in Atlanta and it's always been fan run. And it's a lot of fun and it's everything. If you're bored at Dragon Con or miserable at Dragon Con, either something's going on outside of the con or you are a person choosing to be miserable. And I know that sounds horrible, but we all know at least one of them.
Yes.
Because we have everything from costumes, cosplays, video editing, manga, science tracks, to fantasy literature, science fiction literature, video gaming. We have it all.
Something for everyone.
Love that.
Yeah, it really is great like that.
One day. I'm up away in Canada, so one day.
We had a bunch of Canadian authors this year. So
they must make enough to be able to pay for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it can be an expensive con to come down for. And I think I have enough friends who are authors that I always try and remember that when we're talking about content and paneling and making sure people are getting their biggest bang for their buck, because it is a lot. But, when you're ready to apply to Dragon Con, let me know and I'll walk you through the process.
One day.
Nice.
It'll happen.
Luke Kamekalo, Michael Chatfield, they've come, Tao Wong, Annette Marie. So, Annette had to cancel this year because of things, but we've had a number of Canadians, so it is doable.
That's amazing. So what came first? Your love for like doing the cons and all that stuff, like the conferences, or beta reading? Like where?
Honestly, I got into doing the beta reading because of the authors just going, hey, can you tell me what you think? So,
Nice.
and I'd be like, okay. Do you really think my opinion matters that much? And
Yes.
I have had a
It's
couple of friends recently hit me over the head going, yes, do you know how much you've actually read? So,
That's a good point. As an author, I don't get to read as much as I want to because I have to spend so much time building the world for people to read. So having a well-read beta reader is so important because I can be like,
well,
what have you read
and the
like this
problem,
before that I haven't?
yeah, and the problem is also when you're a reader, depending on how when you're an author, depending on how your brain works, you want to make sure what you're doing is fresh and not mimicking what you're reading.
Hmm.
And I know of at least one author who ended up co-writing a trilogy in a series because he was a very big name author, and he read this series and it just it jived so hard with him, his brain would not let it go until he wrote something and they were like, hey, this is really good, let's go ahead and take it a step further and actually publish it, which is great. They both worked for the same publisher, so it worked out really well, but it is a risk.
Yeah, that's always so scary.
So were you you're more of a beta or alpha reader, or would you say you get more arcs
I've
books?
done a bit of all three, actually.
No.
So I worked for Barnes and Noble for a while, and it was really fun because they gave us art.
Okay.
And I've done some advanced reading also for Bain Books. They've handed me books. Well, they I have done enough reading and kind of working with some of them that they gave me a reviewer access, so I can go download anything that catches my fancy from their website,
Fancy.
and then all I have to do is post a review on it. It's really, but it is also a very trusted thing, so it's not like I can just go here sprinkling free ebooks everywhere. So
So you'd say you've had like all the connections.
I don't have all the connections. I have been really blessed and lucky. I have a lot of connections. I started going to Dragon Con back in 2000, maybe 2001, and I got really lucky and I ended up meeting an author who I was super excited to meet. It was very funny because we ended up in line behind him at a for an event night at Brie at Dragon Con, and my friend who had been going to Dragon Con for years goes, you should say something, and I went, no, 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 I will be too afraid to say something. I'm going to turn into a blathering idiot. And instead, what she did, instead of listening to me and hearing my not consenting voice, she tapped him on the shoulder and said, she wants to talk to you, but she won't. And that person was Todd McCaffrey. And I ended up becoming very good friends with him because he thought it was absolutely hilarious. I was all of like 18 years old. And so I got a really lucky chance just through some odd twists of fate. I always tell people when they go to cons, you don't know who you don't know. Because authors, social media has made it so that authors are more readily identifiable, but a lot of authors still aren't, especially out of context, even if you see their face all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a friend of mine says it's the famous that's really great because you can still go to the grocery store when you go home, but uh, it does mean you just don't know who you could be totally stepping in it and being rude to the exact person you need to talk to and not even know.
Right. Oh.
It's a good lesson in etiquette.
It is. It's something I really strongly remind people along with when authors ask me, well, what's the other piece of advice you give? If you feel grouchy, get off the sales floor.
Yes. It's a really good
So,
piece of advice.
yeah, and we all need the reminders. So, I mean, as a track director, I've had people go, it's time for you to leave the floor. And I'm like, yeah, probably. I just heard myself growl.
I'm going to timeout now.
You know, you got it. I have a volunteer who jokingly tells everybody his job is to make sure I sleep for 4 hours. And he has looked at a very nice gentleman and he's going, you're really nice. You're really cute. She needs to sleep for 4 hours. If you prevent that from happening, we're going to have problems.
I
So
love that.
it's an army buddy of mine too. So he does the like the dad or the senior NCO. Well, he is a retired senior NCO from the infantry. So he does that very well. And they're like, yes. So it's fun. I got into going to cons and I fell in love with the fact that it was the first place I ever went where other people really understood and got my love of books, and I didn't have to explain or apologize that, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s when it was Marvel did a wonderful thing of making it very mainstream, and some of these kids are really blessed with that.
Yeah.
So, but so for me, going to cons was the love, and then I always loved the books, and having known and had friends who are authors, that's what kind of got me into reading, beta reading and everything, because I wanted to help them, and it's such an expensive thing to do, if that makes sense. So, and it's so hard sometimes because you're writing in isolation in many ways. Like,
Yeah.
even though you're not, there's writer groups and everything else. Like, I've had a friend who, Mel Todd, she wrote the Twisted Luck series. There is a scene in, I think it's book 2 or 3, and it's a scene she actually was debating cutting, and I actually highlighted it. And I told her, this you have to keep on pain of death. And then I wrote, I know where you live. She lives 10 minutes from me. So she's close. And it was a scene where
You didn't
one
like
of the
walk
things I love
over
about
and just
reading
like
is you can read.
demand at the front.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I have the key to her house. I just walk in and be like, here, smother you with the pillow. No.
Take this.
But one of the things I love about books, if you're a big reader, is you can learn things from books about human social interaction without having to undergo the pain, hopefully. And there's this beautiful scene where this person is talking in a very mentor role to the younger protagonist, who is 18, 19 years old, about how she dresses. She's in this kind of odd scenario where she's an authority figure, but she's also like the intern. So how do you deal? And she goes, this is how you're going to have to deal with it. This is how you're going to have to dress. And it's very like, be comfortable, but be assertive, always have pockets type thing, because when you read the story, you'll understand it more. But I was like, this is something young readers need to read. 20 something year olds need to read that. It's like, one of my favorite lines is from a Mercedes Lackey book. Dress to impress, because you never know when you're making a first impression.
Yep.
So there's a lot of wisdom that can be found in even the most random science fiction, fantasy, speculative, not serious literature. I put these quotation marks out there because I've seen where, I remember the first, what's it called? They did I cannot remember. It has a show on Netflix now, and it was on Showtime for a while, and it's like the history romance with vampires and stuff. And it went from being shelved in science fiction and fantasy to now it's in the literature section. And
It's not True Blood.
What?
It's not True Blood.
No, it's not True Blood. It's the one. Oh, I even have it on audiobook and I cannot remember it. And I was just looking at it the other day, but it's like and it takes place a lot in England, and they go back in time and stuff like that. It's going to All Souls or something like that. This is the other problem, is I've read so many books.
Discovery of Witches.
Yes, that one.
It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, but it was originally shelved in science fiction fantasy, and now it's in the literature section.
Really?
Yeah, no, because they feel like there's a level of snobbery there, and I'm like, yeah, no.
No.
There is. But fantasy, speculative fiction is a great gateway for people to learn stuff. It's a great gateway. Also, when I was working at Barnes & Noble, I had this guy go, well, you just will do anything to escape reality. And I looked at him and I went, no, that would be drugs. I don't do those. Yeah. And I went, I like it because it's a great way to talk about things while still making it approachable. You can talk about, I think the most powerful lessons I've ever read, J.F. Posthumous, I recently read a book by her in her Corruption series. And it is, to me, the reason why science fiction and speculative fiction is a modern example of why it's so important. Because in this book, it's an alien world, and the protagonist is half alien, half human. And she's dealing with a lot of racism within it. we're having a lot of those discussions here, but it's easier to see it and talk about it in a way when it's not Native American, Indian, Japanese, white people, Black people going at each other. It's alien, human, and talking about that. And I loved the book because of that. Honestly, it was great. It was a great example of why this genre is so important and why I think so many readers get pulled into it, and authors have so many amazing things to say in it. Sorry, I can't. What was the question again?
No, that's okay. We digress. We rant. Everything flies on here. I did want to ask though, because we do like to sometimes talk about what we were drinking today. And Libby, I know you're having your tea, your morning tea.
My morning tea. Yes.
Which is.
I don't know.
What kind of tea?
I don't know. It's a Japanese tea that I.
Oh,
like
yeah.
It gets. Yeah, I can't. I don't know.
So I'm enjoying some amaretto. I'm on the Italian side, so I like my amaretto with just a splash of Grand Marnier. Cisca, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking club soda with a lemon lime cocktail syrup my brother makes.
Nice.
There's no alcohol in it, but I love it.
Hey,
sounds good.
Go. That works.
Yeah, he uses less sugar in making it, which is great. Makes it much more healthy. And I add it to club soda, and it's like I can control how tart my Sprite is.
Yes, there you go. Perfect.
Never even thought of that.
Yeah. See, I generally use, if I'm doing cocktails, I don't know if you remember, Cisca, my family owns an olive oil and balsamic store.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I love
so
olive
I use
oil and
balsamics
balsamic
in my sparkling water.
I will have to try that. I will have to try that.
We have like a Sicilian lemon white balsamic and a key lime white balsamic that together kind of does mimic that flavor.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I have actually no Italian in me. I have a lot of other things, but no Italian, but I love making Italian food. So my brothers think it's hilarious and they make fun of me, but I make pasta from scratch. I find it very calming. Like, put on an audiobook, make pasta.
Yeah,
perfect.
Why not?
Listen, I love.
I'm a mutt.
Yeah, me too.
My mom, when I was younger, she looked at me and she goes, "You have the distinction of being exactly what America in some ways should be." And I went, because I was young and I didn't know. And she looks at me and she goes, "You're a mutt. There is something in you that at least one of your grandparents would not be happy about." So I'm Hispanic, but I'm also Scots-Irish on my dad's side.
Nice.
I have a grandmother who was French Canadian. So I have, going very far back, some Native American. I have a little bit of German, but yeah, I'm a mixing pot, and I think that's great.
You're almost like me.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, diversity is what really makes both Canada and America really great and strong.
That's true.
That is true. Do you find yourself, because like when I'm Irish and I'm a bunch of things, but I'm heavily Irish, so I love reading about like Celtic, like I'll go and deep dive like culturally into stories. Do you find yourself doing that?
I will do that sometimes. I think I deep dived Celtic too hard for a few years, and then I actually quit reading epic fantasy for a while because it's so heavily European, which is not a drawback, except eventually you're like, I want something more. And I read Davis Ashura has The Cast and the Outcast, and it is a amazing epic fantasy trilogy that pulls in Indian culture and history because he's Indian, and it's absolutely amazing, and I loved it. I tease him all the time, and my family goes, "We know when you're reading his books because all I want is Indian food. All I want when I'm reading one of his books is Indian food." And he has a great YA series, and they kind of all of his books interconnect on some meta level because he has some characters that get reincarnated in the different ones. And so he has an urban fantasy YA series that is really awesome, and he pulls from his experience of being a first gen American. He actually moved to the United States when he was 3, and he pulls from that experience of living in rural North Carolina as the only Indian in town. type thing. So, and he
What's the
does a
name of that
beautiful
series?
job. Cass and the Outcast by Davis Ashura.
I feel like I've heard of that.
Probably. He's really well written, and there aren't many voices in publication right now in that like very specific Indian pulling, like hits him, R.R. Virdi. Griffin Barber did a 1632 novel set in India that was very well done, very researched, very well reviewed by people from India, from the Indian culture. But I love his stuff. It's really awesome, super fresh. Julia V and Ken Babel, I love their stuff. I've been reading it for years. They do a beautiful blend on some of it of pulling in American culture, but also their Chinese heritage, and just this beautiful, very unapologetic way of pulling it together. It's wonderful.
Nice.
I love that.
So would you be reading that one series and just be like, oh, I could totally go for some Vindaloo right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really am that bad. So, but
See, I put food in my books, hoping
oh
I'm going to make the
no,
reader
they
hungry.
do. That's what's
So.
horrible. Davis makes me so hungry because he puts food in his books,
Love it.
and I'm like, and he just finds it hilarious. And I'm like, I'll put a picture online and I'll tag Davis, and he's like, "You're reading one of my books?" And I'm hungry now, and I want. I grew up with my mom makes amazing Indian food because she learned it from an Indian chef, and so
Fancy.
I get very spoiled, and I'm like, "Mommy, can we have chicken bami?"
Can you make me some garlic naan, like, really quick?
Chicken tikka. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And I have a 13-year-old who can eat his weight in chicken tikka.
Nice.
So you can handle the spicy stuff too?
Somewhat. He
Yeah,
can handle
okay.
it better than I can.
Gotcha.
So, but I grew up also on Arab food too. So,
Man, love it. I just love food in general.
food's awesome, and it's a really great way to talk about culture and build the variety and depth to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I actually found when I was writing Primeval Ranch, the third book in the Dino Rose series, because the main family is like American Hispanic,
mhm.
and I was looking up new recipes of stuff that I had never made before, and I'm like, oh, now I want some ahogadas now.
Yeah.
Like, this sounds really good. But we are getting away from books a little bit and getting into food. I did want to ask the question of ARC reading, beta reading, and alpha reading. What do you find you actually do the most?
I do a lot of ARC and reading. So, reading for people getting like they want that review to come out, and the other thing when it comes to the alpha versus beta is there's a lot of people who have different views. So when somebody
Mm-hmm.
asks me, Tabitha Strickland, she's an author on TikTok, and she's actually, ironically, the first author I've ever early read for that wasn't somebody I knew or knew their
Okay.
publisher. So she and I talked, and I'm like, this is what I'm comfortable doing, and this is what I'm not comfortable doing. Like, we had to talk about it because I am not an editor. I was talking to John Hartness from Falstaff, published for all Falstaff books, and he was like, "No, he was suggesting that I do some paid beta reading, early reading," and I'm like, "Oh," and he goes, "Just be very precise." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not doing their grammar," and he goes, "No, don't do their grammar," and I'm like, "And I'm not going to do their spelling because that's the only thing worse than my grammar," and he goes, "Yes, please, dear God, no." There are limits of what I'm good at. I'm good at reading. I can tell you some of the trends and the tropes that I'm seeing. I can tell you where fans are going to identify with things. And I can tell you, like, Tabitha is shopping around a book right now that I early read for. And I'm a passionate person, but I'm not a big crier.
Mm-hmm.
She has a scene in one of the chapters that made me cry.
Oh,
Like,
I love that.
unapologetically, I had tears, and I'm like, this is just a mess. Cry because of how much I personally identified with it, and how much any reader who grew up in like the 90s when science fiction and fantasy was the thing that got us beat up and made fun of is
Mm-hmm.
going to identify those emotions, and totally understanding that. And it was just beautifully written, and it hit that emotional chord that really resonates, that you goes, I'm going to go back and read that book, or I'm going to go back and read her. And so I'm good at that. I'm good at telling you some of the pacing stuff, like you need to speed it up. I was talking with a friend who wrote an epic fantasy, and it was interesting. This was really kind of my first foray into more formalized beta reading or advanced reading, in that she then sent it to a developmental editor, and then, but it was one I knew, and she gave permission. And so he and I talked about it afterwards, and he goes, no, your notes are good. Your notes match my notes. So, because I'm trying to get better and be able to give people more information that's actually helpful for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, well, and I'd rather do it, because when you do editing, as you as authors know, but fans may not know, is they pay by the word. So if you're going to cut out an entire chapter, why pay for it to be edited?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So expensive.
And it is so expensive. Though I do also, Mel Todd was the first one who actually asked me to read her early stuff with her Twisted Luck. And that one was funny, because I was like, yeah, you're getting a lot better at it. And she opens it up and she goes, there's 800 comments on this document. I thought you said I was better. And I looked at her and I went, oh, you're getting better and I'm getting meaner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
you got to match the, yeah.
Well, but it was, but also not all of them were bad comments either. Some of them were a lot, like, I think when I turned Tabitha's book back, she was like, over half these comments are you removing the word and. Every author has a tick. And I went in and I did a search, and I'm like, 8% of your document is and. You need, that's about 7% too much.
Yeah. Mine in dialogue is really and actually.
That,
so many times
and
where they're like, you need to just take those words out. I'm like, I know.
I have some pet peeves too. Really, actually, he said, she said. When I was in high school, there was a book I literally threw away because all the dialogue was he said, she said, he said, she said. And I looked at my teacher and I went, I can't read this. And but we all have ticks too. So sometimes maybe saying if that person is the right person for you. There's different kinds of editors, there's different kinds of advanced readers. So we actually do a panel at DragonCon on the different kinds of editors and picking them out.
Yeah, nice.
And we call it wonderfully Blood Red Blood. Well, everybody writes in red, right? But
yeah.
I would say if you're going, hey, I want to start reading for authors, bear in mind there is a human on the other side of this, and always make sure that you're saying some positives too.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, because we're literally getting handed their baby.
Can you be a little bit nice?
Yeah, you spent God knows how many times or years. I have a book up there from Bryce O'Connor, and he wrote the original very early first draft when he was in high school. He picked it up and started re-editing, and he's like, it's like an entirely different book, but the character is still the same character. And so if I sat there and I yet said nothing positive about it, well, nobody needs that.
And he wouldn't be the ideal reader. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you can't find anything nice to say, that's not the book for maybe you to be reading.
Yeah. There's a person on TikTok, she Giada something. She's an agent, but she does stuff on how to make yourself better. And she said one time, go read books that you don't like in a genre you don't like, so you're not enjoying it. Your brain keeps working, but start identifying why you don't like it. Mm-hmm. It's like, and she did that, and then I was reading an epic fantasy. That's the problem. I'm ADHD. Epic fantasies can be very slow to start.
Yeah.
See, now I don't read a lot of like super violent stuff. So Libby, is that okay if I do that with your book? No, I'm kidding.
You're gonna have to skip the entire book.
The entire.
You'll have to skip every single page if you can't. Yeah. It's okay.
I'm just kidding.
I can understand that. I have teased David Weber before, and I'm like, David, can't you just write waves of missiles? Like, really and truthfully, I don't need 4 pages of how these missiles got from point A to point B. He's like, my fans like it like that, though. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm your fan, too. And he goes, you can just skip ahead.
I do that.
Yeah.
I don't like all the descriptions. Like, I jump, I'm action. I'm not going to describe to you how things, like, we're not talking about how
If
we
you
got
ever
there.
want wordy,
We're
go
just there.
go Google David Weber orders a pizza.
Okay.
It is a very funny, satirical way of ordering it, of like if David Weber ordered it. David Weber, if you haven't read him, I'm sure you've probably looked at some of his books, Derek. They're like, he's like the Sanderson of military SF. They're thick chunks.
Okay.
Big boys.
He's a chunky monkey.
Yeah.
But
I just
he's
scanned
really
through
good.
a lot of that. Descriptions.
Yeah,
I can't tell you what rooms look like in books.
Yeah.
I don't.
same here.
I can't. And
can't tell
Rice
you what clothes
writes
they're
like
wearing.
that.
Sometimes you don't need to. It all depends on what also your fans have gotten used to. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
that's
as a
where
reader,
urban.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well, and
I
like
don't really care about this.
Larry Correa's books are a lot shorter and to the point. There's less descriptions, but he also mostly has written, or at least most of what I've read from him has been urban fantasy, and he can kind of shortcut and go cargo pants and not have to describe the cargo pants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to add the detail to clothing if it serves a purpose for something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
I only
in
mention
Primeval
clothes
Ranch,
when
the
they
one-
matter.
Yeah. Yeah. In Primeval Ranch, I have a character that wears a jacket, and at some point in the book, they come across a saber-toothed tiger that actually needs like a tourniquet. So she takes off the jacket because she's wearing it and uses it to tie it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's important, and readers will fill in the gaps.
Yes.
That's what I hope they do.
Yeah.
They're smart. That's the other
They
thing.
vary.
Is like our readers are smart people who can fill in the gaps, and some of it, when I leave things up to interpretation, like I want you to make your own vision of that. Like that's
Anne
the point.
McCaffrey did this thing when she wrote Pern, and you don't read. There are almost no descriptions of somebody's skin tone in Pern.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very deliberate choice. And bear in mind, she wrote this in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the early aughts. And so this was a very deliberate choice. 1968 was when she won the Hugo. She was the first woman to win a Hugo for science fiction. And it was Dragonflight. And part of it is, and as she actually explained on a panel one time in an interview, was it's a closed population of a small colony. All of their skin, yes, in the early books when they landed, there were different skin colors. There weren't by the time this series takes place. But it was a very also deliberate choice because she wanted the readers to see themselves. There was a sociology study that somebody did in anime, and it was very interesting how people viewed skin color and eye color and hair color in anime, and asking them what nationality. And it was very interesting because most people defaulted into thinking it was them.
Mm-hmm.
So the Japanese go, oh, well, they're all Japanese. And the Americans are like, they're all white. So it was very interesting from a sociology, college students have to do something after watching tons of anime.
Yeah.
I can't say anything. I was one of them too. I did that.
We still watch anime. I mean, we live in Japan, but yeah.
That's kind of cheating.
It is. It is.
So that's fun though.
So when it
do
comes to...
Go ahead, Derek. Sorry.
Go ahead, Libby. No, go ahead, Libby. It's all good.
Do you read mostly fantasy and sci-fi?
I read, mostly science fiction and fantasy. It's funny because when I became a DragonCon director, I had been on the science fiction literature track for a couple years as a volunteer. And I joked because I had 80 days. There was something that happened with the predecessor. They asked me to come in and take over. 80 days, nothing prepared, nothing planned. I think that might have been part of why they asked me to come in. 80 days to plan your first con that has like 80,000 people at it. Good luck. Yeah, no. And we average about 175 people through the track room per hour for content. It's fun. Luckily they picked the one person whose motto seems to be challenge accepted versus let me run and hide. And so I felt like I had kind of been studying for the wrong test. Like I took a degree in chemistry, and I was like, it's like I was studying for the inorganic test when I should have been studying for the quantum mechanics test. And they were like, if you say so, both of them sound painful. And I went, they both are painful. But yeah, I read across the gamut from them, and I tend to read very broadly these days versus very narrow. And what somebody once put it, and like I will read probably 4 or 5 in a genre, or maybe a couple, book 1, 2, and 3, and then I switch to the next one because I'm trying to familiarize myself with as many people as I can so that I can better panel people at con. And because there are so many options.
There are a lot of options.
So yeah. And so like I've read like lit RPG. Somebody one time goes, well, you just need to read lit RPG. And this was several years ago, before Rose Reynolds was a big name, and Jay Boyce had just started publishing. And I was like, it's great. It's such a diverse subgenre of literature, because it's got vets, Black, white, Hispanic, disabled, not disabled, as long as you don't have ovaries. And they went, wait, no. And I went, okay. And I proceeded, and they went, well, who have you read? And I'm like, I've read Axford, I've read Alaron Kong, I've read Luke Kamekalo, I've read this person. And they were like, okay, yeah, no, you've actually read. I'd read like 10 different people. And they're like, I'm like, there are exactly 3 female characters in those 10 books. And they went, oh, that's a problem. Gaming tends to be very heavily male. They have definitely, but it was like, they suddenly started self-correcting. There's now many females who write in the genre. It's still heavily male dominated.
Yeah.
But there's Rose Reynolds, Laura Lee, Shami Stovall, Casey Azell, Mel Todd, I think, said she was looking at working on one. Jay Boyce, Katie Hanna, they're in Rose Reynolds. They're like the OGs of females writing in this genre. So, but yeah, so I tend to read a lot of different people. Plus, I have all these beautiful books. You're not going to love on
all the trophies.
Yes. So I have gone through, audiobooks have been great for helping me go through things. I went through the first 6 books of The Expanse in like a month and a half. So.
Okay. That's nice.
At the time I was working in a lab, and I was listening to about 45 hours of audiobook a week.
Wow.
Dang.
Nice.
I wish I could do that.
So how many authors do you alpha or beta for at the moment?
Just like 3 or 4, honestly. Not many.
So you don't,
it's a big commitment.
Well, I always like to ask people before I do it, when do you want this back? Because if it's quickly and I don't have the time to guarantee that I can do it quickly, I don't want them waiting around on me. And I want to be able to give them quality input versus, yeah, cool. So.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
Yeah, no.
In depth.
I too don't want that.
Like, exactly. And so, J.F. Posthumous, Mel Todd, I advanced read for Melissa Olthoff on one of her books. I got an e-arc for one of Casey Azell's books this summer, and I read all those. And if there's something where they know, like if I'm just advanced reading so that there is a review when the book comes out, I will make sure to circle that date. And I try to lie on my calendar to myself and tell myself a few days earlier than it gets out. But I've also taken to writing notes as I read. So I have just a simple composition notebook. So if I know I'm going to post a review, I'm like, here are the tropes that are in it. So because a lot of readers like to shop by trope, so that I can make sure to say the tropes that are in it. I will also sometimes ask, do you want to look at this before I post it? Because some authors don't want to know what they're hearing. And they're like, Richard Haylock, he's an Australian author for Lit RPG. He does not want to know anything about his reviews at all. He does not want to hear it. And that's okay. He doesn't want it messing with his head. And he's like, I have a good group. I have a great feedback pool. And those are the people that I'm listening to. And that is awesome. Especially because lit RPG can be a really, if they're new to the genre, they can be really off. Like reviewers, your average reader who is new to intense lit RPG, like beyond just Matt Dinniman, is going to go, I don't want to read all this grind stuff, but that's what lit RPG fans like. So it's, it's like telling a spicy book reader there's sex in it. They're going to go, oh, cool. And that person may not have thought it was a bad read for them because of it. So, but that's how I try to keep track of everything. And then most of the time they're pretty cool and they're like, whatever, just tag me in it. And they're like, thank you. I had one, I didn't even read it. I just put the review on my website. Okay, cool. But I also don't post anything that's super negative. Like, I know that sounds really mean. If I come across, and I have come across a few that I'm like, whew, no, I will tell the person, hey, look, constructively, this is what I think about this. I don't want to put that out there if that's what you don't want out there. So, but that is my choice. So,
yeah, that's good. Like in a respectful way, because I know some people just don't care, and they're just like, oh, we'll just trash it. Like,
I have a friend who has somebody who buys every single one of their books, verified, confirmed purchases on Amazon, and trashes each and every one of them.
Like, why?
Like, why are you spending your money and your time like that?
Like, thank you for the money. Like,
thank you for the money. And I have one, J.R. Handley, who was my co-host on Blasters and Blades. He's a sci-fi author, and he actually had somebody make a review on a book that he loved, and he bought it because the negative 1-star was they cuss too much. It was a military book, so he's like, oh, it's probably they cuss too much and there's a lot of violence. He gave it 5 stars because they cuss too much and there's a lot of violence,
Yeah. So sometimes bad reviews are actually good reviews, but I think that's when it's
authors now that use bad reviews for their advertising.
Yeah.
Gosh, have you seen the stuff with Rachel Renner?
Mm-mm.
And okay, so the bright pink book up there is by Rachel Renner, and there is somebody who complained to her. She sold it via TikTok. There's a no return policy. This person complained to her that the book was too pink.
I think I've heard of this.
I'm wearing pajama bottoms, or else I'd get up. But that flaming neon pink book.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Rachel's done a ton of. She's done a ton of skits on it, because then the person, she was actually very polite, and she told them, I'm sorry, if you would like, you can return it and order the black copy. That's black and silver. And then but you just have to pay shipping. Oh, Rachel's idea of making a book is to just take all your money. Her books are gorgeous. She's literally like, I sit down to see how I can make the prettiest book possible, because she's done books in the regular thing, and then she's like, everybody deserves a pretty shelf trophy. So, and I actually bought the audiobook for that because I was afraid to mess up that is so pink, and it's just under it is, and it's almost 4 pounds.
Wow.
Holy.
Yeah,
how many pages is it?
It is.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, see?
So
including the last page, 865 pages.
That is gorgeous.
That's nuts.
And look
at the map.
Oh,
and she's got,
my gosh,
like full color details in there.
The foil sides on the pages.
Oh yeah,
where did she get that printed?
I'm going to guess it was Inkster, because they're the preferred printer through Kickstarter. I can send you their information.
That's so gorgeous.
But that, and like it's beautiful.
So cool.
I'm like, hi, this is my new favorite treasure.
I don't even have time to read, and I just want that on my shelf.
Oh no, I'm like, Yeah, I was like, I'm not reading any urban fantasy. I'm kind of urban fantasied out. And then she's like, hey, like this is,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, no. And I'm like, Rachel, stop taking my money.
I'd like to know how much you spent just trying to get like the illustrator for all those.
I don't know. In fact,
'Cause that's intense.
yeah, no, this is another one by Rachel. And this one's really fun to
Okay.
read because
That was cool too.
all the ink is purple.
Oh, look at that.
And then I
Oh
have Jake like
Now I
my
have to go
bookmarks do
look at
not
her for
necessarily match
marketing
the book.
reasons.
That's okay.
The bookmark's HP Hollow's bookmark, who's also an oh no, this is Jacob Hollow, who is a Bane author, and his wife is an indie author, HP Hollow. And so yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah.
Nice. I just have to take a moment. I found it funny that Libby is like into writing intense, violent
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and then all of a sudden, out comes her mouth is, "That's so pretty."
It is.
It is so pretty. Hey,
It
hey,
is.
girls who wear combat boots can still want
No,
their things to be pretty.
I know. I'm just,
Oh no.
just cheeky.
No, I totally understand that because I was in the army, and when I was in the army, I was all serious, and then I'd be like,
Yeah, it has
and they're like,
pockets.
what just happened to that person? Like body snatchers, and I'm like, I mean,
Sorry, guys.
I loved it. I had ACU pants, and I actually did not. I lost enough weight. I could have gone down another size, and I refused to because the size was for that I was in was perfect because it was big enough to fit my books and my ebook reader.
There you go.
Yes. Priorities.
I did. I had serious priorities. They just weren't always what they thought they would be.
Oh, that's all right.
But
So,
I was also the person who never got in trouble except for reading.
I don't think that's anything to get in trouble over.
When you're supposed to be paying attention.
Potato.
I mean, I honestly, my mom had a teacher one time go, well, Cisca keeps reading books in school and during like recess and outdoor time and social interaction time. And I'm really worried about her. And my other teacher looked at him and went, leave her alone.
Yeah.
Good.
This is her time to do what she wants.
I was not getting in trouble. Well, here's the thing. There were a lot of people in my grade who were getting in trouble with what they were doing on their free time at school. And they're off like getting caught making out in the hallways. And I'm sitting here reading a book. Guess who's going to come? I was the person who got in trouble so that they would send me to the library. Until they figured that out. And then they just went, how about we reward you and you can go to the library so you stop getting in trouble? Because I would do things like not turn in my homework assignment until later that day so I didn't have to go. I mean, I wasn't getting into major trouble, but they were like, this is a little ridiculous.
That's funny.
I mean, in school suspension where you have to sit at a desk and read, don't threaten me with a good time, man.
Yeah.
I don't understand in school suspension on a lot of levels. But one of them is like you're putting me by myself around nobody with a book.
When my mom did her version, when I got in trouble just before spring break, her version was my sitting at the table reading news articles and writing summaries. That I understood as pain.
Yes.
Yeah. Along with, she had me do a propaganda assignment. So she had me read and identify words. This was actually a really great skill for authors. Actually, she had me read and identify, or beta readers, read and identify words that took it one way or another. So, and she called them the propaganda words that designed specifically to elicit an emotion versus something factual, what word and where that emotion is. And then had me go, okay, now as it grew in complexity, because my understanding grew, it was now write it so that it's more upsetting or less upsetting. Now write it so it's just straight factual. Because word choice matters.
It's true.
Word choice does matter.
And that was definitely, and my mom, ever since I called them propaganda words. I loved this. Okay, love is the propaganda word. You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
I like that.
What kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to get into more alpha, beta arc reading?
I would say when you're doing this, be very aware of how quickly you do or don't read with what level of comprehension. So if you're the person who reads every single word, do you remember every single word on the page? There are many books I have very good reading comprehension of because I've slowed down to take the time to have them. And then there are some like Lord of the Flies where I don't. I was not interested in Lord of the Flies. I did not read everything, but I can tell you 90% of the plots of uh, any Robert A. Heinlein book I read, because I read every single word, even though I've never gone back and read them again. So be aware of that. So either take notes, be aware of the format. I love it when people send it to me in a Word format if they want me to write and give feedback, because for one, it's easier for me to type it into the computer versus trying to get it to go right on my Nook. I use a Nook versus a Kindle. I know I'm one of those weirdos, but so be honest about
You're still
what your
reading.
feedback is, or be able to like convert it to, it's easy to convert it to formats, but I would say you can start also with authors who you know, because if you're a big reader, you probably know authors who are coming up in that they're not very big yet, if that makes sense. So they're established maybe, but they're not huge, and they are looking for feedback that will help them grow. And be aware also, I have actually found that Googling sometimes the tropes for a genre, so you know what the trope's name is when you're going forward, is a good way of doing it. So
Nice.
if that makes sense.
I appreciate that you say that you're a slow reader too, because I feel like you absorb more.
Yeah. My mom and I, it's very funny. She reads at the drop of a hat. But this book would take my mom, it's actually two books, but it would probably take my mom maybe a week. It's going to take me longer,
Oh,
but I'm
okay.
also going to remember every single word of it. So, and there are some things, honestly, um, I think taking good notes is really important. But when you're wanting to get into it, Bain, for example, they have an online forum where people can go through their slush piles. And if
Oh,
you're a new author, Bain of the traditional publishers, because they are distributed through Simon and Schuster, they publish more from their slush pile than any of the traditional slush publishers, than Daw or Tor. And part of the way they do that is they have an online forum for people to submit the slush and people to read that slush. So, um,
interesting.
yeah, I think being clear about your feedback once you get it and what the expectations. So,
Right. Know what role you're playing with the reading.
yeah. And also, there are times when you read something, and if it's already gone, there may be a point where it has gone past the point where the author can retcon it and fix it.
Hmm.
Like I have watched I have watched Jay Boyce have somebody or quote, I think you messed up the math. And she'll actually like lit RPG can be very math heavy. I've seen her and Dakota both like be like, oh yeah, no, cool. And they will go back and they will look. I'm gonna tell you that Jenny Koch would probably smack you if you told her that. She'd be like, I'm the author. My math is my math, and it is correct by definition.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are definitely times where it's gone past. And so just knowing what that production time frame is or where you are in it is important too.
Yeah.
And
That's really
people,
good feedback.
yeah, and people may not agree with your feedback. You may be like, this is stupid, and they're going to go stupid because they don't know. There may be a scene like David Weber and Larry Correa, they both planned their stuff out way far in advance. They know that they're putting, like in the Safehold series, there's all this stuff in there about this one minor character in the ocean. You're like, why the hell do I care about this character? And you don't in the first couple books, but later on in like book 4 or 5, that character is important. And so there may be something going on you don't see.
Yeah.
If you have a different background, I think that's also important to understand too. I had this discussion with October Santorelli. He's a author who also does sensitivity reading. And he said his hardest thing to learn when he started doing it is sometimes the authors mean to be offensive because you don't know yet that's the villain or something like that.
Right.
You know, I hated this author. They're so offensive. Yeah, they're supposed to be offensive. So, but at the same time, you may not know what you don't know. So saying, hey, look, this guy's really offensive. Okay, cool. That was what I was going for. Or, okay, cool. They may not even say that. They may just be like, okay, cool. And you open up the book, they left them the same, but there may be a reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an aspect also if you have a different background that you're bringing to it,
Yeah.
because we only know what we know through our own filter until we learn better
Mm-hmm.
or differently.
Yeah. And not every aspect of every character is an extension of the author.
Yeah, I would.
I
Yeah,
would hope
no,
not.
not everyone is. No, some of these.
Everyone's looking at Libby
Otherwise,
real hard right now.
every author would also be an evil villain.
Jeez.
So, or wait, you would be a dinosaur though, wouldn't you? Dear?
Yeah.
Possibly. Also someone, I guess.
So,
Yeah,
but
no,
I
it's not
think
gonna.
there is a lens of what the author knows for bringing it that character, and just being honest and realistic with them about what's going on. And then the other thing that's really big here, and is I'm seeing more people talk about it as a concern, is when you are given a book that is a big, we've talked about it as a position of trust for being honest about the feedback, but also keeping that feedback private. That is a that
Yes.
is a discussion between you and the author. It's almost like doctor patient confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are a trusted person when you're handed this early manuscript.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
so don't feed it into an AI. Don't talk bad about it.
Don't go on social media.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because when I read the book by Tabitha, I was like, I couldn't help but tell a few people, and she's like, well, what did you tell? And she goes, okay, that's fine to tell them. But what I told you, even when I told you guys, it was very vague. You don't know which book it is that I'm talking about. You know that the author's really good. She made me cry. That's great. But there's a position of trust here between you and them, and it creates a bond. And
Yeah.
so treat it as such.
And a lot of new
And
authors are terrified to have anyone read their book for lots of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one
so
of
many
them.
reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many reasons. Could it have been fed into AI?
Are they going to
Plagiarism.
steal
I
it? Yeah,
mean,
like there's
yeah. No, there's so many. And there I know at least one beta reader who will not sign NDAs because they're like, you either trust me or you don't. I don't mind, but that's because I also understand that in some cases, like Tabitha, she didn't know me from Adam. She and I talk now daily, and she'll be like, hey, what do you think about doing this instead? And I'm like, that's great.
mm-hmm.
So I think the biggest thing I'll tell people all the time though is go with what works for the story and the author, if that makes sense. Like your characters, don't force them too far to do the wrong thing. Like you're already having to do horrible, mean things to them. Don't make them do things against their nature.
Are there actually many authors that have NDA type stuff now? I don't
Um,
hear it that often.
I think there's a couple, but not many that I know of. But they also, it could just there are people who could probably be doing that with everybody but me, and they know that I'm just not going to do that to them. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really lucky because with Dragon Con and having done a podcast, there are people who feel they know me by reputation very well, and so and
Yeah.
and I'm also a very clear, honest person. It's the only way I know how to interact with people effectively.
Best way to be.
So, um, but I could see where some authors or more authors are doing it. I know, for example, James Hunter is very point blank. He will not talk to you about a book, particularly if you're talking writing or anything else, for more than about 5 to 10 minutes without coming up with a creator agreement between the two of you. Because I have seen where it has, and he has seen where it has destroyed friendships. Where they were like, "Hey, look, everything else," and the guy's like, "I just went off and and wrote it," and they're like, "I thought we were writing this together." So,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's just sometimes people don't have the best social skills, and that's some of what the problem is. They mean well.
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
Yeah.
they may have misinterpreted. I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, like when I meet them at cons, because we're almost a different person. It's a different environment. It's
Sure.
super intense.
Yeah.
Even if people aren't drinking, you're not eating the same number of same stuff. You're not sleeping the same amount of sleep.
Yeah, true.
So
Everyone's a
you're
little bit
not
different.
having, it can be a very intense experience. And so I can see where people are doing some of that, but I've only ever been asked once to do it. So
That's fair.
Well, this hour has flown by.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's great. We
Don't
love when it flies by.
apologize.
We're having fun. Yeah, love it. We want to hear as much as we can from you. That's the whole point.
Yeah, because we learn just as much on these. I think this is selfishly us learning more about beta readers and alpha readers and arc readers and your experience.
Well,
and
there can be a lot to it, and there's a lot of people on TikTok who say that they're willing to do it, and they'll put out a lot of calls. I think that would be another way if you wanted to get started. Like, there's a group called the Nerd Fam where they put out weekly calls. Well, maybe not weekly, monthly calls, or sometimes bi-monthly. And they're a marketing firm. They're found as the Nerd Fam, and they will do it. I've seen authors put out. Actually, that's how I got involved with talking to Tabitha about her book. Is she put up this thing of, these are the tropes in my book, and I went, yeah, that actually sounds super cool. So, and I've been reading a bunch of fantasy, but she has a character that is, yes, it's a journey of self-discovery, but it's a journey of self-discovery at 30 years old. And if you've ever been in your 30s, you haven't found yourself yet. But all these characters are like teeny boppers. Like, I refused to read Fourth Wing for the longest time because I was like, I don't need another teen angst book. Thank you. And then I found out that it's actually not teen angst. They're in their 20s. And I'm like, okay, we'll see.
It's so funny.
But
yeah.
Well, we've loved having you on, Cisca.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm trying to think of, okay, so where can everyone find you? Are you also an author? Have anything going on?
So I am on Facebook and I'm on TikTok as Cisca Small in both of those cases. I am not really an author. I'm more of just a reader and world dominator. No, I organize stuff for Dragon Con.
There's a little asterisk there, isn't there?
And just world dominating, kind of, but only in fandom. So I volunteer at LibertyCon. I have been the programming director for a Deep South Con. I am the fantasy literature track director at Dragon Con. So when I say I control things, it's really only in that little, very special niche. So, but that's normally where you can find me on both. And I do a lot of talking about cons. Most of the cons you're going to find me at are going to be in the Southeast. I don't travel much because I can't take it as a tax write-off because I'm not an author. So
that's okay.
That's fair.
And you said you did have a podcast, or it still is?
I did. I was on Blasters and Blades for many years. So you can go look up their old YouTube and find about 500 hours of my being stupid. So, but I'll let you guys know if I start doing a podcast again or not. When my life settles down, I miss it, so maybe. But until then, I'm doing stuff on TikTok about how to maximize your time at a convention. Most of my advice will be very tailored to Dragon Con, but also still very applicable to any other convention. So, just how to, I have a series of videos I'm going to start putting up of how to be a good moderator, how to be a good panelist, what to do after you get accepted to content. So, yes, you're a guest. Now what do you do? Right?
Yeah.
Great ways to pitch a panel to somebody. And I've seen some very inventive ways to pitch a panel to me.
Nice.
Nice.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing that I do a lot of, and I enjoy it.
Very good.
Sweet.
Awesome.
This was fantastic. It was so nice to meet you. Yes.
This was fun.
It was great meeting you guys.
I didn't know much about. I've always known Cisca for like
Mhm.
a little while, but to actually sit down and get to know you, this has been fun.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for
thanks
coming.
joining us.
And we will catch you guys next time on the Novel Network podcast.